Serving community. Talkradio.nyc.
Hello, everyone. I'm Linda Marsanico, and this is the A Train to Sedona. The A Train to Sedona is also the name of a book I wrote, a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. I wrote the book so that my journey might inspire yours. You can purchase a signed copy on my website at lindamarsanico.com on the Buy the Book page. Also, it's available at retail stores and bookshops. Let's remember that in New York City, the A train is the express train, so hop on board. I have a free gift for you. Higher Vibration Cheat Sheet. 7 exercises to help you raise your vibration. For example, the 5th tip is prayer, which can comfort you and enable you to feel connected. And you can download that free gift at lindamarsanico.com. Now, I have 2 disclaimers. One is that this broadcast does not establish a professional relationship. And the second disclaimer is that the opinions shared on today's broadcast do not represent Talk Radio New York City. Today, my guest is a friend and colleague, Deepak Saini. Deepak Saini helps clients optimize mental, physical, and financial performance. Having spent many stressful years in the corporate world and overcoming an autoimmune condition, obesity, and a back injury, he brings a unique perspective to working with his clients. When this father of 2 is not spending time with his family, he is staying at the forefront of emerging and cutting-edge health research. Deepak is also a speaker, podcast host, author, and working on becoming a centenarian. Welcome to the show, Deepak.
Thank you, Linda. I'm so excited to be here with you and everyone today.
I wonder if you would share how your journey is influenced by your past, which leads you to where you are today.
Absolutely. So you briefly touched on it in my bio. I was always the chubby kid. Like, I can't remember a time when I wasn't like a little bit chubby. And then at 18 years old, I was classified as morbidly obese, 100 pounds heavier than I am now. I also was chronically sick growing up. They just kept saying I had bronchitis and ear infections and throat infections and all sorts of stuff. And I don't even know if any of that was really true. But that sickness continued on into adulthood. Like, I would literally be sick 3 to 4 times a year, almost with the seasons changing, for like 4 to 6 weeks at a time. That's a big chunk of a year where you're sick. Like, I'd always be coughing and runny nose and aches and all stuff, like, just good enough that I could go to work, but like not well enough that I could actually do anything afterwards. And in 2014, as you mentioned, I hurt my back, and that was my real low point for me. And I didn't see it in myself at the time, but I had, looking back now, I totally had depression. I couldn't golf anymore. I couldn't run anymore, and I couldn't play with my kids. My youngest was a baby, and I couldn't pick up a 10-pound baby out of her crib. I just had too much back pain. I couldn't bend over at the waist. So in trying to heal myself, I like to say the Western medical system did me no favors and wasted 18 months of my health. So tried to find alternative means for healing my back, which I did. And then at the same time, I also found lifestyle changes, primarily nutrition in my case, but there were some other things as well. And lo and behold, not only did my back heal better, the modality I chose to heal my back worked more effectively, but the last 60 of the 100 pounds I've lost melted away in a number of months, and my autoimmune condition just went into remission. I essentially haven't really been sick for 10 years. And that's all through COVID and all that as well. So that going on that other side of that journey, and having sort of that mindset shift and the possibilities of like, whoa, like what is actually possible? Using things that we aren't told about. Our parents didn't tell us, our doctors aren't telling us. These sorts of things opened up my own possibilities to the fact, I said like, geez, like, why can't I be a centenarian? Why can't I live healthily to 100? Now, again, it's not about living just to 100 just for the sake of it. It's about being vibrant and living and having vitality to 100. I said, why can't I do that? So I totally shifted my mindset around that. And again, the practices and what I incorporate in my life, and that's changed and it's ever evolving. And I think we'll get into some of that today. But yeah, that's kind of the thread of my journey to how I got to where I'm at today and how I continue to evolve.
It's a fascinating story, and it must have been very challenging moving along with all those ailments and not knowing what you were going to do, but finding a way to do it.
I was really desperate, and luckily for me, it could have been very easy to fall into an anger, like why me, or shame, or again, I said I was depressed, I think, but not so heavily depressed that it was recognizable. And all sorts of other type of emotions. I could have turned to drugs or alcohol or any of these type of things. But really, I just wanted to be able to play with my kids again. Really, that was the underlying factor. Of course, I wanted to be able to move and all these things, but it was really just being able to play with my kids. Like even my older one, I'm the type of dad that not anymore. My kids are a bit bigger now, but like I'd like to throw the kids up and spin them around and all this type of stuff. And I couldn't do that with my 3-year-old, and I couldn't even pick up my baby out of her crib. So I was in a really low place, and yeah, I'm so grateful that I had the internal strength and the little bit of knowledge to start looking for alternatives. And that just led me down a whole bunch of different rabbit holes about how to heal myself, alternative modalities, cutting edge science, et cetera, that I've now incorporated for myself, and also with some of the work I do with my clients as well.
I remember that you have a very interesting morning routine. Would you share it with us?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends what's going on in the day, so to speak. But typically, I'll get up and I will I'll take the dog out, do that sort of thing, and then I'll go and do some movement. So again, depends on the day and where I'm at in my sort of my exercise cycle, but it always includes some level of cardio, like about 30 minutes of sort of a zone 2 cardio, just enough to get so we really work on my cardiovascular system. And then I do very robust stretching. So again, depends on the day, but if I have the time, 45 minutes of stretching. Some people might say, whoa, that's quite a bit. Well, again, I overcome this back injury, and I want to maintain mobile for another 60 years. So that's very important to me. And my stretching routines incorporate some elements of yoga and Pilates and this sort of thing. And then I'll turn on the sauna. I have an infrared sauna at home. And then
Very cool.
Yeah, it was a great investment. I think I probably have the cost per cost per use now down to like pennies every time I use it. I use it every day that I'm home. So I'll jump in this infrared sauna for 20 minutes. I'll do my meditation, maybe do some affirmations. I'll when that's done, I'll dry brush. Although I'm really sweating, so it's not really dry brushing anymore. But I'll use a brush and lymph flow type of thing, and then I'll do some eye exercises. I'm actually actively trying to. These are prescription. I am actually trying to improve my eyesight, so I'll do some eye exercises in there. Then I'll go have a nice cold shower. Again, depending how cold, depends on the time of year. I live up here in Canada, near the Rocky Mountains, so it's pretty cold here right now. So I won't have as cold when it's already cold outside, but I'll have a cold shower, and then then it's kind of like get the kids ready, everything like that, and then I'll come down to work. And I intermittent fast, so I'll have my coffee, and then I'll have my meal, my first breakfast, my breakfast, a couple hours later, type of thing.
I'm interested in the eye exercises that you do. I remember doing ones looking up and down, left and right, rotating the eyeball. Is it anything like that?
I just, I mean, those are great as well. I'm there's an eye expert, someone who a friend of mine who he basically reversed, got himself out of glasses. So he gave me a couple tips. So I basically do those tips, and would you want me to demonstrate really quick for
Would
the
you?
audience? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I know some people are gonna be listening, so I'll try and be as descriptive as possible. So I'll take my glasses off, and in my sauna, there's just a little bit of writing on the panel. There's the manufacturer and the number. There's a very, very, very small print. So I'll take my glasses off, and I can barely read it, and I'll stare at that, and then I'll rub my hands together and kind of warm them up a little bit, and then I'll close my eyes and I'll cup my hands. Well, actually, I'll just I'll cup my hands, and then any sort of like light or like floaters or anything like that, I kind of just wait for a few seconds so that all goes away. And then after I uncup, and then with my two fingers here, my middle finger and my pointer finger, I very briefly touch the corners of my eyes, like for like a second, like less than a second, millisecond, and then I just do some deep breathing and relax. And then I open my eyes, look at the same text that I was looking at, and it's clear as day. So I do that every day. I could probably do it multiple times a day. And then the other thing I do is when it's nice and clear and sunny, I will sun gaze. So I will close my eyes, glasses off, and I'll just rotate and have the sun, say, here's the sun here. I'll just rotate my eyes across the sun, and I'll do that,
They're
4 or 5
closed. The
times.
eyelids
My eyes are closed. My eyes are closed. But again, if it's a sunny day, that light is penetrating through your eyelid. So those are the exercises he gave me, and I think it's helping. So we're recording. It's November here. I believe in January, February, I'm due for another eye checkup. So I'm going to see if it's been working.
I'm interested, the print that you look at on the sauna, is it important to look at a print that you can't see clearly?
Like I've done this enough. I know what it says, right? But it's and again, depending on how stressed I am that day, or how fatigued I am, or what have you, how clearly I can see without my glasses is going to vary. So I don't think it really matters that you can see it clearly, or what it says. It's just, it is a difference from when you look at it to beforehand to when you look at after. It's much easier to read.
So your post-test shows you a bit of difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. If I had more time, I would probably get a book and do that sentence by sentence and try and read a book that way, but that would take a long time.
And you have a lot that you're doing. I'm interested in your aerobic exercise. What do you do for aerobics?
Yeah, so most days I'll do a little bit of running or jogging, and ride a bike that here and there. But remember, when I was overweight, I would always have a lot of pain, especially knee pain, that sort of thing. So a long time ago, invested in an elliptical trainer to take the pressure off the knees. So I still have that. It's a great machine. So I'll do, again, zone 2, medium intensity elliptical trainer for about 30 minutes every day.
And what does zone 2 mean?
So zone 2 is about 65 to 75% of max heart rate. So it's hard enough that if you had to have a conversation with somebody, you could still talk, but it's challenging. So again, and that's great for building cardio endurance and also fat burning. That is the fat burning zone. So it's not too intense. It's not too easy. It's that nice sweet spot.
Well, thanks for sharing that. We are going to be taking a break pretty soon. And I thought we might talk about, when we come back, how compassion fits into your life. So in my philosophy, love and compassion are soul sisters. So when we talk about them, they mean the same thing to me. And when we are loving and compassionate, we're spiritual in my belief system. So I'm hoping to come back and talk about that. So we're ready for the break now.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
If you don't have your health, what do you really have? It's time to feel good in your body and shift from struggle to ease. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Tripp, your host of Nourish the Soul, where we explore the sacred wisdom of your body while you sit back, relax, and go on a journey of self-discovery. Join me every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to awaken your heart, transform your well-being, and unlock a deeper understanding of yourself.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Unmute. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona. That was just muted, but now unmuted. I'm here with my guest, Deepak Saini, and we're going to talk about the role of compassion in your life, Deepak, how you show compassion. Please share this with our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll like to say this. Hopefully, everyone caught the first segment. Obviously, I agree that compassion and love, to your point, Linda, like go hand in hand. You see them as the same. I see them maybe slightly different, obviously very overlapped.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, we all have love, we all have compassion for others. But when I look back to, like, let's call it pre-journey to, pre my everything kind of come crashing down for me to where I'm at now, it's like night and day. Like, my level of compassion for not only myself and others is like so much greater, and it's growing. The more I, do my own work, my own personal development together with my wife, my compassion, keeps growing. It's very easy, when challenges arise, whether through my injury, that I mentioned earlier, through some of the struggles that happen through like COVID or economic cycles, whatever the case may be, to sometimes lose sight of that. The growth in the last 3 years in myself is I'm almost, it's not the right way to put it, but like I'm kind of disappointed in, like, when I look back, it's like, wow, like I know I have so much more to grow, and I had so much growth. Like, man, what was I doing before? Like, some of the listeners might be able to resonate. It was very, again, you mentioned in my bio, I worked in corporate, and I was trying to climb the corporate ladder and all that type of thing. And of course, I was nice to people, and of course, I treat everyone with respect, etc. But I don't know if like I had like that deep of a compassion that I do now. And I realize, to kind of circle back to your original question, I need to have compassion for myself, and that's why I tend to put my self-care, which sometimes people say that's kind of selfish, but I know for myself that I have to take care of myself. I have to be the best version of myself, so I can be the best husband, the best father, the best son, the best brother, the best everything, the best, showing up the best for my clients. And then the more work that I do with my clients and getting more into the unconscious mind, spiritual type of work, I realize that like I have to have more compassion in those realms too, because those are not necessarily my defaults. I'm a very analytical, type of person, and when I'm doing this type of work, I realize I have to, up my game of my compassion and love as well. And I don't think I would be able to do some of the work I do now if I haven't done my own personal development work, and especially in the last 3 years. So yeah, it's very, very, very important, and it's an area of continued growth for me.
Of course, self-compassion is the first priority. And it's a spiritual truth that we need to have compassion for ourselves first, and then we have it to give out to others.
Absolutely.
When you're off target, if something happens and you become less compassionate, how do you get back on target?
So I think it's going to be different for everyone. For me, when those old patterns come through, those old negative emotions or limiting beliefs or what have you, um, and I resort, or anyone for that matter, resorts to their default, and I'm using air quotes for those who are just listening. For me, that tends to be a bit of I don't say lashing out. That's not the right word. Maybe a little obtuse, a little abrupt with people. So when I have that realization, oh, I didn't handle that right. That's old patterning. That's old language coming out. I'm much more. I was. Let me take a step back. I was never someone who would really like. I would only apologize when it was like, okay, like I really need to. And now I'm so much more forthcoming. Like, oh, hey, like I don't even know, and I, I don't want to say over apologize now, even though I'm one of those like nice Canadians. I wouldn't say I over apologize, but I'm so much more forthcoming with apology. It was like, hey, it occurred to me that might have rubbed you the wrong way. So if that was the case, like, hey, sorry, that was not my intention. And a lot of times people are like, oh no, I didn't take that at all. But like, okay, cool. I just want to make it clear. I never would have had that conversation before. I would just assume like, yeah, it's good. Or even if that they took it the wrong way, that's their problem, or whatever. So that would be the type of mindset I would have had, years ago. So yeah, it's just understanding where I'm wrong, and we have to take our own responsibilities in everything we do. And unfortunately, many people don't. Right? We have live in almost a society of blame and that sort of thing. So just taking my own responsibility and trying to make it right, be honest with people, and apologize where needed.
I have 12 tips in my book, and one of the tips is taking responsibility, because we have interactions, and in those interactions, sometimes we have a negative response. And rather than blaming the other person, it's an opportunity to look within, to ask, what does this say about me? And what can I learn from this engagement? And when we ask the questions, we take a journey within to the core of love within our hearts. And Kuan Yin is channeled by a friend of mine, Laurel Isaac. And through those channelings, Kuan Yin has said, Linda, you have an open heart. So through the work and compassion, our heart softens. And when you talk about wanting to apologize, I'm much more able to apologize as well. A family member said, you never apologize. This is a couple of years ago. You never apologize. And I thought, yes, I do want to apologize more when it can soften the relationship, allow someone to know I really care about them and their feelings.
Yeah, Linda, can I just give an example of taking responsibility? This just came to me. This happens more frequently than I'd like to admit. But like, I'll give my older daughter is very responsible. She's in charge of like a meal one day a week, and she takes the dog out, like all these types of things, chores around the house. And I'll tell her to do something, and then I'll come back, and like it's half done but not complete. And I'm like, what's going on? I told you to do something. She's like, looks at me like I did it. And then I'm more cognizant now myself, and I was like, check myself. I was like, okay, I recognize that I gave you incomplete instructions. Oh. I asked you to do this, but I did not follow. Me saying this in my mind means 3 steps, but the actual what came out of my mouth and what she heard is the first step. So I'll be like to say like, okay, I recognize I didn't give you full instructions. this is what I meant when I say this. It means this, then this, then this. And she'll be like, oh, okay. And then that doesn't mean she doesn't make the same mistake or misunderstanding again. But we, again, I take responsibility. I gave you incorrect instructions. I did not communicate what I actually wanted. Right. Taking responsibility.
So that interaction allowed you to learn something about yourself, to be more clear with your daughter.
Absolutely. Yeah, for
You're
sure.
older, wiser, and a chore is more complex in your mind, but simpler in hers.
Yes, for
and
sure.
So by explaining it, you're on the same playing field.
Yeah, and I've come to realize this in many instances, and many people could probably resonate with it, especially our very analytical type people. The story or the process or the procedure in our head is going faster than we can actually verbalize. So like step one has come out, and in my mind, step three has already been talked about, but it hasn't actually come out. And then I move on, and I'm getting more cognizant of that characteristic in myself, and in that many people have.
Communication is complex, and we can learn and improve so much with the right heartfelt attitude.
Absolutely. Communication is key for everything, for all our relationships.
So I was wondering how you think meditation helps in your compassion and your spiritual journey.
Meditation for me plays a lot of roles in that sense, or for me. When I have a clearer thought, or at least in that state where I'm relaxed, focusing on my breath, or sometimes it's a mantra, whatever the case may be, a couple things happen for me. Number one, ideas that are different type of ideas or different data points, they sometimes come to me and click. It's like, oh, John said this and Sally does that. I wonder if there's something by blending those two things together, or whatever the case may be. And that's quite often helped me come through a breakthrough or solve a problem that I've been sitting on for 2 or 3 days. Or the other thing is like things from my, the back of my mind come forward, like, oh, I forgot to follow up with that client, that person, whatever. It just comes to me in those kind of relaxed trance states. Also happens in the shower as well. To answer the meat of your question, meditation also calms me and brings me to a state where I can be that better person, where I have that extra second to think how I'm going to react, either physically or what I say verbally, type of thing. It's a lot better now, but when I first started meditating, 2-3 years ago, my wife could see the difference, and she would sometimes say, have you had your meditation yet today? Like she could tell the difference. And I'd be like, no, I haven't. And she, does that, like I'm a little bit on edge, or I'm getting a little agitated easier, or what have you. So definitely brings that more cognizant and more how I want to approach and how I want to present myself to people and my family, and how I want to interact with them. And I think that ties into compassion in that way, that I can show more compassion by the way I'm reacting and handling things. And I think meditation is not the only tool that helps me with that, but I think is a big part. And I think I've shared this with you before offline in a previous conversation, Linda. I basically stopped tracking because it's just become a habit now, but I'm well over 7 years of consecutive everyday meditation, and it's been like game changer for me.
It makes us more resilient, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
What made you start meditating?
Kind of a funny reason. I just, all about performance and, both physically, mentally, business wise, etc. And some of my, informal mentors, the people I look up to, these are not necessarily people I've met. They just keep talking about meditation, and all these high performers and this general, and then this titan of industry. And like, seems like all these really successful people meditate. Maybe I should try. And then I just made a challenge to myself. Well, let's go 30 days, see if you can do it for 30 days. Then, okay, let's see if we can do it for 3 months. Oh, okay, let's see if we can do it a year. And then it just became, and now it's a game. So I'm just going to keep going. And like I said, I tracked for 4 or 5 years. I'm like, yeah, I don't need to track anymore. And it's been about 7 now.
It's part of your life. It's in your DNA.
It is. Yeah.
So we're going to take a break pretty soon. And I think we'll come back to talk about how you changed your business over a weekend.
Okay, that's a fun one.
So let's take a break. We'll be back.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona with my guest, Deepak Saini. Deepak, tell us how you changed your business in a weekend.
Absolutely. So those who have any sort of professional designation, whether it be sort of more, engineer or accountant or whatever the case may be, or even those maybe more in like the coaching side or something like that, we all understand how we have to keep up with our continuing education hours, right? So
Yes.
I have a number of certifications and whatnot. So I'm always, every couple of years I have to redo the test to stay certified or, continuing education credits, et cetera. So I found myself in this pickle late last year, early this year, trying to find one program that would satisfy the hours for a couple different certifications in one. Trying to two for one. I was trying to do one batch of hours to certify both. And I was talking with a friend, and she's like, "Oh, my program will do this." And her program was teaching and would allow me to become board certified in timeline therapy, neurolinguistic programming, and hypnosis. So neurolinguistic programming seemed kind of interesting to me. The other two I didn't really care for, and timeline therapy, honestly, I didn't know what it was. But I'm like, sure, why not? So I took this very intensive 8-day program to get my continuing education credits. So it was like I started on a Friday, went the entire week, and finished on the following Sunday. That last couple of days, that last weekend, is when everything started to really click for me. And I finally had that aha moment about using those tools with my clients. Many people can probably resonate either because they work with people in some fashion with clients, or maybe for themselves, where you're doing all the tactical things right. Maybe it's weight loss, maybe it's building your business, whatever the case may be, and you're still not getting the results. And why? And when I kind of learned the power, we all know about our unconscious mind, or at a very surface level, almost everyone understands this. But of course, getting board certified in these, we're going deep. And I was blown away, not only in the change I saw for myself, and of course, practicing with my colleagues, in the changes I was able to put in for someone else. And I was like, I came to realizations now that I have these tools, I cannot not use them now. It would be a travesty
Yes.
It'd be an injustice to not use them. So quite literally, those last few days, that last weekend, I was like, I can't do what I'm doing anymore. And I completely changed how I work with my clients, revamped my programs, and included those three modalities in every type of work I do, regardless of the client segment I work with. Everyone has the opportunity to use those tools. So literally over the weekend, I changed my business.
Would you say that that program and your need to get your credits in was some kind of synchronistic shift? That it happened to shift you is what I mean.
That's an interesting question. So here's the funny thing. So I complete the course and all this stuff. I have my accreditations from the boards that I can now go take to these other certifications I have to get the credits. And I go to like apply their credits, and I realize I'm like, oh, how did I mess this up? I thought I was due. Like I thought I literally needed to submit things within the next few months, and I realized, oh, I still have like almost a year before I actually have to do this. Why did I think that I was ahead of my time? So one could say, oh, you just messed up the math and whatever. I was like, no, the universe was telling me I needed to use this. And I started, it sent me the signal to let me start having conversations with people about how I need to do this, even though I really didn't. And then my friend, provided, or the universe channeled through her an opportunity for me that I took advantage of.
Yes, and you did take advantage of it. We always have to say yes to something. We get many prompts. Do you remember at the time prior to becoming acquainted with the program that maybe you were a little restless or dissatisfied with results?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I would say this, and I think the universe sends us signals in batches. So at the time of taking the program, I can't remember exactly now, but very close, like within weeks of taking the program. I also attended a high-level mastermind with some very successful entrepreneurs, and my hot seat question was about kind of direction of my business, and that also shifted me. So the combination of like, I need to incorporate this work into my business, and what does that look like, alongside of essentially nearly unanimous the group saying you should go in this direction, and they perfectly aligned with each other. So the reason I brought that question forward in this mastermind was probably because, to your point, I was a little dissatisfied with my results to some degree in my business. So yeah, it was probably synchronicity for sure.
And two urges, two prompts.
Yes.
We do get what
probably a third. I find things come to me in threes. There's probably a third I'm not recognizing at the moment.
I see. Well, that's powerful. What I'm wondering about is timeline therapy. What is that?
So timeline therapy is, if you want to think of like maybe a string of pearls, I think everyone can imagine that. And every time you have some sort of negative reaction to some unconscious programming, it could be you yell at your kids, or you grab that pint of ice cream at 10 o'clock every night, whatever the case may be. There's events that preceded it along your timeline, all the way back to the initial event that caused this to happen. It could be in your lifetime, could be at birth, could be passed on genealogically, could be a past life. So timeline therapy goes all the way back to that first instance that the unconscious mind recognizes when this happened. Now, and unlike a lot of other therapies, and don't get me wrong, all therapies are great and they all work in their own fashion. But unlike some therapies, timeline therapy doesn't like have you relive that experience. It actually goes just before that experience and clear all the negative emotions. We start with anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, shame, and rage. So, and this could be, sometimes it's the same instance. For me, it was the same instance. For other people, it's different points in their timeline. You clear that initial one, and then you move forward to every instance that the unconscious mind remembers till present. And then we test, go forward. Now, does this mean you're never going to get angry again? No, of course not. Does that mean you forget the event? No, you don't. But it's how you're going to present yourself go forward when that same stimuli presents itself. So to the example I used earlier, when that same stimuli, you're not going to yell at your kids. You're going to have a different response. You're not going to grab the ice cream. You're going to have a different response. So that's what timeline therapy is. And so again, it's kind of hitting every single event to current, and then we future pace and make sure and test that in the future, your unconscious mind doesn't feel like it's going to have that reaction yet.
And how do you actually clear it? Is it energy that clears it? Is it some other modality?
Great question. So when the person goes back to that first event, they're going to feel and again, no one has to even share the event. As a practitioner, I don't even have to know what happened to them. But many often clients tell me. They don't need to, though. It's for them. It's for them to deal with. And at the event, they're going to come up with their learnings. And sometimes the learnings that come up are positive, or sometimes they're negative, and then I help them reframe it to positive. So maybe it might be like, I didn't feel loved. And then I'll say, no, I am loved. And will come with these positive affirmations. And we might go through that a number of times. And sometimes these sessions, depends how deep the trauma is, how far back the trauma is, it could take sometimes an hour or two, sometimes 4 hours to clear one emotion. And sometimes we can 3-4 hours, we can clear all 7 of the negative emotions, and limiting beliefs would be another session. But using these positive statements while they're in essentially trance, in their tapping into their unconscious mind, and then they move forward and they can keep saying them. And of course, there's very specific language we use as well in prompting while they're in that state till we get to sort of the present.
So you help them. Well, hypnosis is said to be self-hypnosis, really. How do you help them get into that state?
Right. Tapping into our unconscious mind is actually not very that difficult. We just have to be relaxed. One, we have to be open. Right. I always ask the unconscious mind if it's okay for us to go and play in there. I'm using different words. That's not actually how I word it, but yeah, to go and play in there and to be aware, unconsciously of any changes we make, and to be aware consciously afterwards of the changes we have made. And then, sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was the original question again? Sorry.
How you actually clear it?
Oh, right. No, how we get them into that state.
Sorry,
that was your
How you get them into the trance state?
Right. So they're well aware. They're in a safe environment. I mean, we do it in person, and mostly I do everything over Zoom. We're not recording anything, so the unconscious mind feels completely safe. And then just relax, deep breathing, and it's very easy to go back. And people are, they can hear me. It's a back and forth dialogue, but they just have to be relaxed and willing. And the unconscious mind, when the unconscious mind feels safe, it's willing to go back and do that work. Remember that the whole purpose of our unconscious mind, its only function is to keep us safe. And if that means repressing memories, traumas, that's what it will do. And only until it feels safe will it actually let go of those negative emotions or those limiting beliefs.
This sounds like a wonderful addition to your repertoire.
Yeah, I mean, some people come to me just for that, to work on that. People who hire me to help them with their business coaching, help work on that to get over limiting beliefs and emotions so they can move their business forward. And then people come to me with health challenges. We clear that as well, so that any tactical things we do as far as their health will work so much better once those negative emotions and limiting beliefs are removed as well.
I'm impressed.
Oh, thank you.
And how long have you been offering the timeline?
Yeah, so these modalities are relatively new to me. So it's just been in this last year that I've incorporated that work.
Okay, so during the time we've known each other.
Yes, absolutely.
This under your advisement, or you've incorporated into your practice. We're going to take a break soon. And when we come back, I'm going to ask you about any cutting edge health research.
Sounds good.
All right. So we can take the break.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Hi, I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona with my guest, Deepak Saini. Deepak, I'm so interested to know of any cutting-edge health research that you can share with our listeners.
Yeah, there's so much. There's a couple of ways I can tackle this question. So just from like research perspective, just pure research, there's so much. There's stuff every day. There's some really interesting things about some modality stuff that I've been using for different purposes, like supplements that are now being shown for things like long COVID and things like that. It's still early days, so I'm not going to get too deep into it, but some very interesting things. So just from a straight research point of view, there's so many interesting things. Using everything from like wearables to advanced supplementation or IVs for treating things. Last October, so about 13 months ago or so, I went to visit a friend of mine who has a regenerative medicine clinic and got an exosomes IV while we recorded an episode of my podcast, and just felt like so much energy for like a couple days afterwards. I had this little nagging knee injury. It concerned me enough that I went and actually got imaging done before I had went down to visit him, because I'm like, something's not right. This is bothering me. And the imaging didn't find anything, and so it's obviously very minor type of thing. But like literally, like within hours, I'm like, I don't feel that knee pain anymore. It's just gone. And I think honestly, I mean, I'm not quantifying it. I have no way of quantifying it, but I think my hair is growing faster because of doing that as well. And my daughter, who is the one who is my barber, who shaves my head every couple of weeks, she actually said, I think your hairline is like getting like recovering a little bit. And I was like, I don't know about that, but if that's true, I'm happy with that. So things like that is very cool. The another area that I really like to talk about, it's just blowing my mind right now, is like some of the testing that we can do for our health, like DNA testing. That's been around for quite some time. Yeah. The insights that we get from that, and again, you only have to do that one time in your life to get your genes. But the new insights that they're getting is amazing. And one in particular I'd love to share with the audience is metabolics. So most people know about our microbiome, right? Like that's a snapshot of our immune system, of our gut health right now. but metabolics is emerging. And it's really only the last year where it's really come to like, I mean, it's been around for a while, but more in a clinical setting or research setting. It's now come to the consumer setting. There's a company I work with. I don't have any financial interest or anything like that. It's just they're my preferred partner who have a test now and it tests the metabolite. So this is basically the end process. This is after it's gone through your digestion, after microbiome, everything. So any drugs, medications, supplements, your food, what's the end process, and see what is actually happening. Are you actually producing, certain neurotransmitters or not? Are you actually utilizing proteins? You think you're eating protein, but is it actually being utilized properly? It's very, very cutting edge, and I'm getting so many insights for myself personally. My wife did the test. All my clients and my health coaching clients are starting to get this test done now that's become available. And just like the insights for myself, even I was like, whoa, I thought I was doing pretty good, and and overall I am, but there's like some areas I'm like, oh, that's a weak spot. I did not think that was a weak spot for me. So that's got me very excited. Just using these type of tools to help us, aim and shoot a little bit better in what we're going to tackle for our health.
Yes, it's more precise and it puts us in the right direction.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, it will help you to your getting to your goal of being a centenarian.
For sure. Yeah, and just again, I'll just be completely transparent. My weakest area, and again, it was good, but not optimized. My weakest area was gut health, and I certainly had a lot of gut challenges. When I was even before I hurt my back, so going back 10 years, and as long as I eat the right foods, don't eat my kryptonite foods, etc., and keep the lifestyle I normally do, I don't seem to have those type of challenges. But when the result came back, it's like, oh, that's the one area I need to work on. And the thing about the gut and microbiome and everything is it affects other areas. So as I work to improve that and some of the recommendations that they provided, and that improves, other areas should improve as well, because it's so central. So it was totally blind to me. I thought that was not a weak area for me. So I was like, whoa, okay, a bit of an eye opener. So we can't guess, we need to test.
They're very informative, and we are told that the gut is linked to the brain, and it's very important. We're constantly eating and digesting, and we truly are what we eat, amongst other things.
For sure. And yeah, most people now accept like that our microbiome is our second brain, if you will. But like even some new research is like, well, maybe they're actually driving the bus. Maybe that's actually our first brain. They're sending the messages to up here. And it's true, all our neurotransmitters are produced in our gut. They're not produced up here. They're used up here, but so
it makes our health more contingent upon how we eat and how we react to things.
Absolutely.
A sensitive gut is a sensitive person. I want to shift because we only have a few minutes. You mentioned what you learned about compassion during COVID. Do you want to share that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I don't think there's going to be a surprise to anyone, regardless of where you sit on the spectrum, politically, health-wise, whatever. There was a lot of, and in some cases, rightly so, in some cases, not so. There's a lot of fear that was put out into the world by media, interest groups. A lot of families had conflicting views, friends, we all understand,
it was
whatever.
A very troubling time.
Very troubling time. And there was a lot of, and again, I'm very data driven, and there were certain policies and things, and we're not going to get into details here in the time we have left, but just did not make sense to me. And I questioned them, and as many other people and researchers and medical doctors and all sorts and what have you. And that caused some conflict with people in my life and even with family members. And I just couldn't figure, I was I'm very logical. Look, I don't care what talking head says on TV. Look at the numbers. If you actually read what they're telling you, that's not what they tell you is not actually what it says in the paper. Read the paper. And of course, most people aren't going to do that. So it caused a lot of conflict. And what I've come to realize since, towards the tail end and certainly since then is, after learning about this work that we just talked about in the last segment, as well, and doing my own work and my own personal development and building my compassion, is like I have more grace and more understanding of where some of these people were coming from. They come from a default, their own default network, their own unconscious mind of what is acceptable for them and who they need to listen to, and maybe they're not intuitive with themselves. So putting my framework and my understanding and the work I've done onto other people who don't have that framework, who haven't done that type of work, and there's nothing right or wrong with either, that was like I wasn't serving them, I wasn't showing them compassion. So now I have that better understanding of an acceptance of other frameworks that people may have, and where they come from, and where and how they got developed for them because of maybe traumas or limiting beliefs or whatever their type of thing. So that has just allowed me to have more compassion for other people who disagree with me, or I can't even see why they would think that, but I'm like, okay, there's probably something I don't understand, and I'm going to have compassion for them. So
that's a very beautiful acceptance, because one of the main parts of love is acceptance. So you've come to a very lovely place. So tell our listeners how they can reach you.
Yeah, absolutely. DeepakSainiHealth.com is my website. I have a free gift there on the homepage. I don't know if we're going to drop it in the link or whatever, but DeepakSainiHealth.com/freebie. It's a guide that people can start to use to build healthy habits for themselves, and then you download that, and then you kind of join my ecosystem and know what I'm all about. And you can find me on all the social medias and all that sort of thing as well. But yeah, download that guide. That's a great start.
Any last bit of information to share before we close?
I would say whatever someone has or thinking of doing or have aspirations for, whether it's losing weight, getting healthier, living to 100, starting a business, whatever it is, just take that first step. It's not that scary. Just take that first step. Yes. Start with yourself. And if you want to, hire someone or get help or whatever that might look like for you, ask for help, but just take that step.
Thank you so much, Deepak. And I wanted to say that next week, my guest is going to be Carrie Cassell, the author of The Domino Diet, Healing Yourself from the Inside Out. We're ready to end the show for now.
Oh, thank you, Linda. I appreciate being on.
Oh, I'm so glad you're able to join me.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC.